You're ready to ditch ordinary? Like really dive into something extraordinary.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Today, we're exploring the Sufi path.
Cool.
And not just like history and beliefs, but the actual methods these mystics use to experience truth, to live a more conscious life.
Right on.
And to help us unpack all this, we've got excerpts from Osho's talks on Sufism. Have you ever read any Osho?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's known for that playful, challenging style, right? Like he cuts right through dogma.
Definitely. He'll shake you up a bit.
Yes. Get ready for some mind-bending stories, some paradoxes. This is not your average lecture.
He really had a knack for shaking people out of their, intellectual slumber.
Yeah.
Get them into a more direct experience of spirituality.
Exactly, which is what makes this deep dive so fascinating, I think.
For sure.
So buckle up. Our journey, it begins by dismantling this whole illusion of ordinary. So Osho, he argues that every single human being, we're all unique, right? And capable of extraordinary things.
Absolutely.
He says, we're all diamonds, but we've forgotten our own sparkle.
Right. We've covered ourselves in layers, like conditioning, societal expectations, that kind of thing.
It's true.
It obscures our inherent brilliance.
Yeah.
Sufis call this the nafs, that part of us that identifies with limitations.
Yeah.
Instead of, our true nature.
It's true. We get so caught up in the shoulds and shouldn'ts.
Yes.
We forget who we really are. It's easy to do.
It is. And Osho reminds us this journey, it's not about blindly accepting beliefs or accumulating as if knowledge. Sufism emphasizes direct experience over blind faith.
So no more going through the motions. Sufism is about feeling it, living it.
100%.
It reminds me of this story Osho tells about a woman who kept switching religions, searching for something more.
Oh, I think I know this one. Yeah.
Always thinking the next belief system, that would be it. That would be the one that would bring the fulfillment.
Always searching for external validation.
Yes.
Instead of looking within.
Which is ironic, right?
It is. Which, ironically, is the heart of the Sufi path inner transformation.
Yes, exactly. It's like that saying, what is it? You can run, but you can't hide from yourself.
Right.
Like you can change your external environment, right?
Yeah.
Your beliefs or whatever.
Sure.
But real change, it has to happen internally.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us face to face with what Osho calls the Sufi's true enemy, the ego.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What exactly do Sufis even mean by ego, and why is it such a big deal?
So in Sufi terms, the ego, it's that part of us that clings to a limited self-image.
Okay.
Our desires, our fears, our need to be right.
Uh-huh.
It's the source of separation from the divine.
So it's like that constant chatter in our heads, right?
Yeah.
Telling us who we are, what we need, why everyone else is wrong.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, Osho tells this wonderful story about Hassan, a Sufi mystic, who encounters a talking dog.
Wait, a talking dog? Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that illustrate the ego?
So think of it as a metaphor.
Okay.
We often get so fixated on chasing fleeting desires, the next bone, so to speak, that we miss the deeper truths right in front of us.
We get stuck in those habitual patterns, even when they're not serving us anymore. We're all running around like that talking dog, thinking the next bone will bring lasting happiness. We're missing the point.
Yes. And this is where the paradox of surrender comes in.
The paradox of surrender. Okay, now that sounds like a challenge, even for a seasoned deep diver like myself.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Osho says it's not about giving up, to someone, but dissolving the illusion of a separate I.
Okay.
Surrendering the ego's need to be in control, to be right, to be special.
It's almost like saying, let go of the reins, trust the journey, which honestly can be a terrifying concept.
It definitely challenges our comfort zones.
For sure.
And speaking of challenges, that brings us to another tool Sufis use, the power of paradox.
The power of paradox, huh? It's like they're saying, want to understand the truth? Get ready to have your mind blown.
It's true. They really do use paradox to shake things up. Not as logical puzzles to be solved, more like doorways to a different way of seeing.
Okay, so we're not talking riddles here. We're talking about, pushing past the limits of logic to awaken a deeper understanding?
You got it.
Okay, I'm all for pushing boundaries, but how do paradoxes actually help us grow? Give us an example of how this works.
Well, Osho shares this story, right, about a Sufi master who intentionally annoyed his followers.
Intentionally annoyed them? What, played pranks on them?
Kinda, yeah. He would do things they found really irritating and they couldn't understand it. Why would this enlightened master act this way, But it was his way of breaking them out of their rigid thinking, their attachment to being right all the time.
It's like he was saying, don't get stuck on the surface. There's something deeper here if you're willing to look.
Yes, exactly. And it makes it another story about a man who escaped from prison by, get this, weaving a lock design into his prayer rug.
Hold on, what? Weaving a lock design into his prayer rug? How does that even work? That sounds like something out of a movie.
Right. It might sound crazy, but it speaks to the power of intention and creative problem solving. This man, he refused to be confined, right, by his circumstances. So he found a way out by thinking differently, by tapping into a power beyond the obvious.
Okay, that's pretty incredible. It's like, where there's a will, there's a way. But the Sufi twist is sometimes the way is through the seemingly impossible.
Exactly. Which brings us to another essential piece of the Sufi path, meditation. Really key to navigating those paradoxes and embracing the unknown.
Meditation. It seems like every spiritual tradition has its own form of it. What makes the Sufi approach unique?
Well, they call it zik, which means remembrance. And it's all about connecting with the divine through, focused repetition. So imagine repeating a sacred word or phrase, often in the name of God. And as you do that, the mind quiets down. You allow deeper awareness to kind of bubble up.
So it's not about emptying the mind completely, but more like focusing it on something sacred.
Yeah, exactly. Shifting from that constant chatter of the ego to a state of, presence and connection.
And how does Zik fit into this idea of dying before you die that we were talking about earlier?
Oh, great connection. Through Zikr, we're practicing letting go of the ego's grip.
Yeah.
Surrendering to something way bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a practice of, dying to that illusion of separation and experiencing the interconnectedness of all things.
Whoa, that's powerful stuff. It's like saying, I'm not just this isolated individual. I'm part of something so much bigger.
And that realization, that can be incredibly freeing. It allows us to experience love, not just as this, fleeting emotion, but as the very essence of reality itself.
So how do Sufis view love? Because it seems like they take it way beyond, the romantic, even the familial sense.
Oh, absolutely. Sufis, they believe that the entire universe, it's all a manifestation of God's love. They see it woven into the fabric of existence. And they believe that we can experience this love, this universal love, by connecting with our own hearts, by recognizing that divine spark within ourselves and all beings.
So it's about tapping into that universal love that's already there within us and all around us.
Yes. And when we connect with that love, it naturally extends outward. It embraces everything, dissolves the illusion of separation, right? And we start to see the world through the lens of compassion, interconnectedness.
That's beautiful. It's like they're saying to experience true love, start by loving the world as an extension of yourself.
And that kind of love, that's powerful. It has the power to transform not just our own little lives, but the world around us.
It's a potent force for healing and awakening.
Absolutely.
I love that. So how do we actually begin to cultivate this kind of, all-encompassing love? Is it something we're born with, or is it something we can develop over time?
That is the question, isn't it? Sufis, they believe it's innate, this capacity for love, but it gets kind of buried, under layers of conditioning, societal programming. But the good news is we can cultivate it through practices like Zik, meditation, mindful living, all of that.
So it's about creating space for that love to emerge, to blossom.
Exactly. And as we practice these principles, we begin to see the world differently. We start to notice the interconnectedness, right? The beauty in the ordinary and that love that binds us all together.
It's like putting on a new pair of glasses. Suddenly you're seeing everything in a whole new light.
Yes, exactly. And, as we continue on this journey, sometimes we find ourselves needing a little guidance, right? Someone who's traveled this path before, someone who can help us navigate those twists and turns.
The role of the teacher. This is something I've always found fascinating, especially in traditions like Sufism. What makes that relationship so special?
It's really beautiful. That relationship between a master and a disciple in Sufism, it's built on love and trust and this really deep understanding of the spiritual journey. But the master's role, it's not to just give you the answers. It's more about guiding the student, helping them discover their own inner wisdom.
So it's less about giving knowledge and more about awakening that truth that's already inside.
Yes. Osho, he describes this beautifully with a story about Hassan, the Sufi mystic. He has this encounter with this mysterious guide named Khidra. And Khidra, He doesn't give us on any straight answers. He challenges him, provokes him, helps him see things from a new perspective.
Like having this spiritual mentor who doesn't just tell you what to think, they help you discover your own truth.
Exactly. And that kind of guidance, that can be so valuable on this path, the Sufi path. It helps us break free from those limited perspectives and step into a much wider reality.
It's like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But in Sufism, it's not so much about finding that one perfect teacher. It's about being open, right, to guidance from all kinds of unexpected sources.
I love that. That's so true. It could be a book you read, a song you hear, even just a chance encounter, or nature itself. The Sufi path is about paying attention to the signs, the synchronicities, trusting that that guidance is always available. We just have to be open to it.
That's empowering. It takes the pressure off, trying to find that one perfect guru, and it encourages us to see the potential for learning and growing in every single experience.
Every experience holds a lesson. And that openness, that receptivity, it's essential for navigating the paradoxical nature of Sufi teachings, right?
Yeah.
Because they often challenge those conventional ways of thinking.
Speaking of paradoxical teachings, let's talk about the Sufi perspective on reality itself. This is not your average, everyday view of the world, is it?
Not at all. Sufis, they believe that reality, it's fluid, always changing, constantly in motion like a dance.
So instead of clinging to fixed ideas, to beliefs, they embrace the unknown, the ever-shifting nature of things.
Exactly. And you know what? This perspective, it allows them to navigate all of life's ups and downs with a sense of grace.